Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Friends, Assalamu alaikum. You know, it was Lenin who said that there are decades when nothing happens, and then there are weeks when decades happen. And we're privileged that we've lived and live in an era when we've seen weeks when decades have happened. If we look back, not that long ago, who would have thought in 2008 the Democratic presidential nominee would be a chap called Barack Obama, whose middle name would be Hussein. Although I'm now Minister for Justice, and I was the first British minister to attend the Organisation of Islamic Conferences Islamic Summit, it's also been a privilege working with Islamic Relief, Muslim Aid, Muslim Hands, and many others. Come on, a round of applause for the Muslim NGOs. My work as International Development Minister has resulted over the next 3 years with the UK assisting Bangladesh to the tune of £370 million, Pakistan, inshallah, £480 million, Palestine, inshallah, £243 million, Yemen in excess of £100 million, not to mention Sudan and Somalia. I was also very proud of the fact that I was able to secure £90 million for Pakistan. I'm proud of the achievements of the Muslims of this country from '97. In 1997, we got our first Muslim MP. In 2001, we had 2 Muslim MPs. In 2005, we had 4 Muslim MPs. Inshallah, in 2009-10, we'll have 8 Muslim MPs. In 2014, we'll have 16 Muslim MPs. At this rate, the whole Parliament will be Muslim. And I'm confident, as Britain's first Muslim minister, that inshallah, in the next 30 years or so, we'll see a Prime Minister in this country who happens to share my faith.
I'm not sure why, but that's just clicked off the sound. Can you all hear me now? You should be hearing me now. Give me a 5p5. My apologies. That didn't make sense. I apologise. Hello, silly moo. How are you? That rhymed. I'm a poet. You didn't know it, did you? Green Baker, Grumble, 5b5. Don't forget sharing is caring. When we kick up and we hit 500 tonight, because you're going to be sharing, because you're going to put this on every platform, because you are also subscribing. If you're not, and you're looking tomorrow, subscribe. If you're not, subscribe, etc. Right now, I've been talking that's a cut out of a video about 10 years ago. Right, I was asked live on TV because I was interviewed quite regularly before they decided to get me off and not allow me to appear on anywhere, including alternative media, which is it's a form of censorship. All right, just to make sure people are clear of that. When you get these platforms that don't allow another opinion to come on, and they don't like the fact that when I start talking and telling people what the truth is and what the law is, that people absolutely say, well, I remember this, I remember that, I remember this. Why are we not doing it anymore? Because our constitution is not being enforced, because it has been subverted by Parliament. So again, if you're sharing and caring and you're sending this message out to everyone, more people are going to see what I've been talking about for years and years and years since I was probably 14, 15. We've allowed them just to keep doing what they're doing, and the police have took more and more control. The state have took more and more control. They've now won a case, I believe, in the High Court, the Metropolitan Police, to use facial recognition. If you read the English Constitution Party's website, there is an English Bill of Rights page where I've written a digital Bill of Rights. So in addition to the English Bill of Rights, it adds to your rights and it forbids any of that, right? We wouldn't need the systems that are in place now, unless the only reason the state wants it is because it wants complete and utter control of every person in this country. I was going to say something else then, but I won't say it. People are definitely taking notice of what's being said. I noticed some other people on Twitter the other day started talking about abolishing and voiding laws, not repeal, right? And I was impressed because I kept saying they're being counselled by the wrong people, that people are not acknowledging that people haven't been trained correctly because of the slow march through the institutions. And there's elements that I can show people and actually show them the law books where it says the difference, right? And I read it out on the show from the Judicial Review book. I'm not making it up. It's just they're not trained, or because they've got, and again, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. I consider all barristers, until they prove different, all barristers and solicitors are criminals, crooks in wigs and gowns, that judges are corrupt to the core. And I've actually seen that myself, right? People need to know how corrupt this system is. We have not got the best justice system in the world. We have got the best constitution in the world that's not being enforced, but the justice system as we know it today is corrupt to the core. If anyone went into the Royal Courts of Justice now and tried to put in a claim, and you go to anywhere in the Royal Courts of Justice, it's full of Mohammedans. I mean, to the point where I had to come back from Portugal to come back and put the electoral petition in, and the people in the payment office and the claims office said there's no such thing as an election petition court. I said, really? I said, it's like one of the greatest parts of our history, still technically part of the Court of Common Plea, and it is most definitely here in this Royal Courts of Justice, right? And the civil servant that was running a whole department in the Royal Courts of Justice had to come down and said, Graham, I'll sort it out with you, that they don't understand. I've spoke to their manager and told them. And even then, when he was with me and he worked in the building, they still wouldn't believe him. Right? That's how bad it is. And it was a Mohammedan behind a jump. Yeah, give me a follow if you can on X. And again, grateful to everyone out there. Chuck Money, Ace Jace, Sue Ellen, Bri54, Juicy and Lucy, Jules Ann, Gooner Mum, Holly England, Sack 17, Chuck Money, Ancient English. Let's see who else is coming out there. So this, I think people have started. If I haven't worked it out by now, there is definitely something mentally wrong with them. But I am going to play that again. I'm hoping that we get the numbers out. So don't forget, sharing is caring. And I just want to go through a few things. I am going to show you. So we've been trying to tidy up and get this place organised. Because we've got Janet here thinking to herself, as women do, I need to tidy up. Really? Right. So we have sort of got started going through things. But I'm going to show you this, right? Do you remember when we talked? And there's another one of these, and I can't find it, but there's another one of these. that is very explicit about a few things. Sweet and Maxwell Examination Notebook, English Legal System by A.J. Williams. Yeah, and then it goes in. This one's of 1952. And what happens, it's in a nutshell, they call them exam crams, right? And again, all I'm going to do is go back to this one. So part D of this, let me just see if it's in this one. I don't think it's in this one. It's in the other one. It tells you lots of different things: equity law, criminal law, property law, contract law, tort, and it tells you everything you want to know. Now, most of these people out there, I've never even read anything like this, right? By the way, this doesn't change. It is what it is. So on this, you got a particular part of this is part D. A Century of Progress, 1154 to 1272. In this period, Henry II, Glanville, Magna Carta, and Bracton, the law became common. Through the writ system and the justices on circuit, royal justice absorbed local courts, for it offered remedies which were swift, certain, and roughly just. It took over from local courts jurisdiction in cases of treason, homicide, arson, robbery, rape, forgery, and such like. Petty courts were limited to petty offences, right? Which is where you get petty offences from, or a petty offence from. The Americans still call that a misdemeanor. It used to be called a misdemeanor in this country as well, but a petty offence. And then it goes on. It talks about the writ system, and there's lots of different bits in here. But this is the one where it actually tells you, if I can find it, which I can't find it, but never mind. And it tells you that if Parliament was to make a law that the people did not agree with, then it would be literally struck out by the law courts, because it would be repugnant to the people, and therefore you couldn't have that as law. So there's lots of things I was going to talk about tonight, but when we get the numbers up, because you're going to keep sharing, you're going to keep liking, hit the like button and send it out there. Now, when I was talking to the guy this morning, Dean Lament, has anyone heard of that guy? He's not got a small channel. He's got, but he is very good at what he does. And he interviewed me and said, "Tell me who you are and what you are and what you do." And I explained it all to him. But we had a really good discussion about British versus English, British Nationality Act. And I explained to him that the British Nationality Act needs to be abolished, because it subverted our English constitution and it created the situation we've got now, right? So if you make void the British Nationality Act, it's really important to understand that is different to repeal. And what I explained to him was that, because he mentioned to me, what is continuity of law? And I said, well, in stare decisis, once a decision has been made in law, it remains law. And the only way it can be reversed is if another court, a higher court, then says, and it's very rare that they do this because continuity of law is important in the common law system, they use a phrase called "it was wrong," and the phrase is "it was wrongly decided." Normally, it is that a judgment by a court, especially the High Court or the Appeal Court, has caused, right, unintended consequence. And that's why the common law system is such a good system, because the judges have the ability to do that as part of the separation of powers, right? They can step in and say, like, we've made a wrong decision there. We can see what it's doing. And at any time, anyone can do that and make a law completely void, all right? So the conversation about void and repeal, why is it important? And I'm going to explain it to you. If you repealed the British Nationality Act in 1948 and 1981, up until, so anyone who had become a British citizen, including all the various elements that they've been given under that title of British, right? Especially when they're not a Briton. If you repeal it, everyone, let's say there was a load of immigration for the last, I don't know, 100 years or whatever, or worse. Well, certainly since 1948, right? Let's call it that. All of the people who come in, if it's repealed, are still allowed to stay here, because it means because it's been repealed, it's not law going forward. So it's important that you abolish it and say it was never law, right? It was bad law, so therefore it must be permanently excluding any stare decisis, any decisions made on that law would be eliminated as well, which means you'll then clear, literally a clear runway for the deportation flights to start. Now, there were other things I explained on that interview. The European Convention on Human Rights, they're qualifiable rights. The government can say that there is an extreme management issue, and therefore we are making a decision that right, you haven't got that at the moment because there's some emergency, right? Well, the English Bill of Rights don't do that. They're inalienable rights. They can't take them off you. And I explained to him that if you was to make void the British Nationality Act, Sadiq Khan could no longer be the Mayor of London. Many police officers would no longer be out, and it's nothing to do with black or white. If there's Polish police, they're not allowed to be police constables. There's no one who can have authority over the English but an Englishman or a Scotsman or an Irishman or a Welshman. That's the way it actually works, right? I mean, he did ask for my personal opinion, and I said, right, so I'm going to give you my personal opinion, which is not the opinion or policy of the English Constitution Party, and it is not anything to do with the English Constitution Society. You've asked me for my personal opinion. He went, yeah. He said, so what would you do? I said mass deportations, re-immigration. You would have to carry that out. I then said to him, there has to be a plan. And I said, part of that plan, in my opinion, should include an island in the mid-Atlantic, St. Helena, which is where we sent Napoleon. I said it's 5,000 miles in one direction to get to South Africa, 3,000 or whatever it is miles in the other direction to get to Argentina or the Falkland Islands. It is literally mid-Atlantic, and it's completely isolated. But we just spent 270 million of our money building a new airport there, right? We can make that into a prison island for them deportees. And if these countries won't accept them back, they've got two options. We will put tariffs on all of them nations, and we will be assisted by the United States of America with the enforcement of them tariffs, right? And two, the people on the island bearing in mind they are 5,000 miles away from South Africa, and they're 3,000 miles away from South America, in effect, they've always got the option that they can swim home. I don't think that's... I'm not being unfair, considering how many of these people have robbed and raped our fellow subjects of the realm, right? Because you're a constitutional monarchy, whether you like it or not. You're a subject of the realm. And it is for the realm to protect you. It is for the king to protect you. Like I said to him, as far as I'm concerned, the King of England has already abdicated, and the Glorious Revolution tells you that. So we had a really good conversation about these things. But I did say to him, there is something also more significant than that, right? So you've asked for my opinion. I said, my opinion is we should immediately implement the Hong Kong tax system, which is English, comes from the Addington Act, 1803 to 1909, and it was the ordinances of that. I explained that to him, and I said, so what that means is instead of you giving people benefits, you say to the people, you go out to work. It's a voluntary tax system, right? Largely a voluntary tax system. But you get tax allowances. Every child you had, you get £2,000 for each child, tax allowance. So not a benefit. You only get that benefit if you're working, right? So if you went and had 10 children, it's not hard to work out, is it? And again, I've got a lot of messages coming in here. Let me just check this message. But I am going to talk about the tax system because I think it's really important. Let me just make sure that's coming in. And no one is... Are you all seeing and hearing me, by the way? Because I'm going to be showing this again in a couple of seconds. What's that gone? So it's pretty major. So if you've got 10 children and each child is a £2,000 allowance, tax allowance, you got 20 grand, right? And then there's a set figure. I think it was something like 50,000 before you're even taxed, right? So you're now up to 70 grand. Your mortgage payments are tax allowable. Your private medical insurance, because they don't have a national health service out there, they don't need one, right? Is tax allowable. If you look after your mum and dad or anyone disabled in your family, it's tax allowable. And it works out that the average family out there could earn 200,000 a year without paying any tax. Yet their airports are spotless. Their tubes, you could eat a dinner off the floor, right? Their tube trains, right? You could eat a dinner off the floor. Every element of that system, and by the way, they surpassed us in the 1960s for GDP per capita, per person, in other words, right, was far in excess of the British, right, because we was already well on our way to a socialist nation. And the Hong Kong tax system, I'm not suggesting there wasn't any poor people there were, but that system and that system of governance in Hong Kong, which was a pure capitalist system, reduced poverty at 50% down to 15%. And if you go and look at the poverty in this country now, it's unbelievable. People can't afford to eat and heat their homes, right? Especially the elderly. So all of that, the Hong Kong tax system is 200 pages in total. Right? By the way, you don't need accountants. You don't need auditors for accounts. You don't need all these millions of people working in that tax industry, right? Which is a big con. 200 pages, and that includes the administration. Right, I downloaded the whole tax code and read through it. 200 pages about 10 years ago. And again, there's a book that you can read, which is this. I've shown it before, just to make sure you can see it. And it is a fascinating story. And all I'm saying to you is that system was English. The Hong Kong people loved it so much. And there was a particular guy out there called Sir John James Catherwaite, who was Scottish, but he was the governor. And the British kept saying, we need to increase the taxes. We need to, because they was trying to draw money in for the socialist system here. And he basically told them to foxtrot Oscar and leave them alone. Right, they're doing very well, thank you. They don't need to give you anything. And it all went pear-shaped, obviously, in 1999 when they handed it over back to the Chinese. But even in China, they've now got massive casinos. They've got all sorts of things going on. But the main thing is, and this is what I said to him, is that tax system puts the people at the centre of the economy. Instead of having idiots like chancellors and whatever in charge of the finances, and Bank of England or whoever it is, and these idiots that call themselves economists, there is a panel of who are in charge of the economy. Is a panel. By the way, it's a criminal offence. It's unlawful in Hong Kong, or at the time in Hong Kong, to run a deficit. If the country went into debt and had to borrow money, it was unlawful, right? And so much revenue come in from this tax system, listen to this, that it embarrassed them to lower the rates of tax. I can't remember what the figures were. But there's two separate systems. There's two systems within one system, right? And it works so well that they actually got a revenue stream in, right? So in other words, the banks were paying, the Hong Kong banks was paying the Hong Kong local government interest on the money that they was putting in the bank, not vice versa. They didn't have to borrow any money from the bank, so when they weren't allowed to, right? But they had so much money there, so and it became embarrassing that they had all this money coming in, right, from this excellent tax system, that they then lowered the taxes even more, right? But they had no National Health Service. There were charities for people that obviously become, and it happens in any society, destitute. But it wasn't the state that picked up the bill. So, but again, the businessmen that were self-made millionaires and billionaires, they were the people that was running the panel, the economic panel. You had to be a self-made millionaire or a self-made billionaire to be on that panel. They didn't want academics. And they didn't want people who'd never been in business in their life, right? By the way, that's how our Parliament used to run pre-1911, Parliament Act of 1911, right? And the people that subverted the Constitution and started paying MPs and then creating a political class, the people who pushed that law through was the Labour Party and Sinn Féin, and in particular the Fabian Society. So once you understand all of that, you get to grips with how we got here, but you also know, how do we restore it? You simply enforce it and put it back in place. And how do you put everything back in place? You abolish the laws that they made. The simplest way of doing it, because there's quite a few of them that's been done. These subversive laws. The easiest way to do it, and then to disconnect from all international laws as well. The easiest way to do it is to abolish the Acts of Union as the domestic law. So the treaty between Scotland and England would still be in place, right? But not the domestic when they brought it into domestic law, and that means that the Great Britain Parliament would be dissolved, just like the USSR, and we would go back to being independently managed by England. You would instantly go back to businessmen because you're not paying MPs anymore. Businessmen and well, again, we would have to look at whether whether you wanted women in Parliament or not. And if there's any women listening to this, what I'm actually saying is, unless you're front line in a war, which I don't think you should be, and we shouldn't be getting into a war anyway, right? If you've got clever enough people as diplomats, there should be no war situations. But unless you're frontline active service, you shouldn't be in Parliament for the simple reason you vote for whether we go to war or not. So there's arguments why they shouldn't be there. Any opinions on that? Exactly. Let's have a look. So once we've tiptoed, if we can share again, it's really important because once it tips over the 500 mark, I'm going to replay that video, and I want people to listen because it means when you abolish the British Nationality Act of 1948, which was put in place by Clement Attlee, a Fabian and Labour Prime Minister, after we lost the war to the Soviet Union, right? There's lots of things that I can tell you. I can go all the way through this, but they are not interested, these people, and some of these people that are counselling, and certainly what I've seen of reform is an absolute nightmare, right? So if you can click that over the 500 total tonight, so we've got quite a few on all platforms kicking off. We're getting close there. Get it over the 500 mark. We're going up all the time as I'm speaking to you. So share, because sharing is caring. I'm going to show this video. I think it's important that everyone understands that they need to retweet this. I've pinned it. I've pinned it on my Twitter profile, and I need as many people as possible to share it. And I need as many people as possible individually to send that to Restore Britain, and send that to Rupert Lowe, and send that to Charlie Downs, and send that to this group that are in the background. Send it to Connor Tomlinson and see what he thinks. Right? Send it to, what's his name, the geezer who comes from Bristol, one who cried his eyes out because they got him off all the media because he told a bad joke about a woman so ugly no one would want to rape her. That one. Oh, Carl Benjamin. Right, so once you're out there, right, so what I'm going to do now, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share. But I'm going to put this back on. Can everyone see this? I'm hoping everyone's going to see this. I'm going to bring it back up. Everyone should be able to see this, right? So there it is. All you got to do is share it. Still think Shahid Malik was joking. Still against mass deportations. Who have put forward restricting jury trials? Who's the people trying to take out our juries completely now? Are they born of English parents? Act of Settlement 1701 protects us, or did, until the British Nationality Act stealthily removed those protections. Vote restore the English Constitution, right? That's what it means to me. So I'm going to bring this up on your screen. I'm going to take myself off the screen, and hopefully you're going to see this in full. Oh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bud.
Friends, Assalamu alaikum. You know, it was Lenin who said that there are decades when nothing happens, and then there are weeks when decades happen. And we're privileged that we've lived and live in an era when we've seen weeks when decades have happened. If we look back, not that long ago, who would have thought in 2008 the Democratic presidential nominee would be a chap called Barack Obama, whose middle name would be Hussein. Although I'm now Minister for Justice, and I was the first British minister to attend the Organisation of Islamic Conferences Islamic Summit, it's also been a privilege working with Islamic Relief, Muslim Aid, Muslim Hands, and many others. Come on, a round of applause for the Muslim NGOs. My work as International Development Minister has resulted over the next 3 years with the UK assisting Bangladesh to the tune of £370 million, Pakistan, inshallah, £480 million, Palestine, inshallah, £243 million, Yemen in excess of £100 million, not to mention Sudan and Somalia. I was also very proud of the fact that I was able to secure £90 million for Pakistan. I'm proud of the achievements of the Muslims of this country from '97. In 1997, we got our first Muslim MP. In 2001, we had 2 Muslim MPs. In 2005, we had 4 Muslim MPs. Inshallah, in 2009-10, we'll have 8 Muslim MPs. In 2014, we'll have 16 Muslim MPs. At this rate, the whole Parliament will be Muslim. And I'm confident, as Britain's first Muslim minister, that inshallah, in the next 30 years or so, we'll see a Prime Minister in this country who happens to share my faith.
Right, so let me go back to that. I'm now going to go back to my main screen, and I'm going to ask you all a question. What did you think about that? Just to make sure you're all aware, that was live from some conference. I think it was in London. It might have been in Birmingham. But that is obviously parts of his speech. But that is basically what he said. So does everyone understand when we start talking about deportation, a mass deportation, and one of the key elements that must be achieved, one is that you need to get out and vote, right? And you need to vote for Restore Britain. When a political party clearly states, this is our major policy, this is what you are voting for, it's like a referendum. And there's a nice way of doing this, by the way, and a bad way of doing this. There's a civil war where this will end up, we will end up in a worse situation than Beirut and Lebanon, right? I'm telling you now, the easy way to solve this is to restore the English Constitution, to vote Restore Britain, to keep lobbying Restore Britain, to say, we need you to look at this. We need you to start looking at and stop talking to barristers, kings, councils, and people. Listen, when the people are behind you, once we've took back the Parliament and you put the people in there, you then impeach under constitutional law the judges, and we can start going through all them judges and know exactly what does impeachment mean. It means you pull them out. You're sacking the judges, right? Once that happens, they can be tried for perjury, and we will do it. We'll have mass trials, right? And we can also exile them, but they will be stripped of their assets if they don't lose their lives, because some of them will definitely, and there's one in particular, will definitely 100%. The death penalty will be put, and again, Restore Britain are already saying we need the death penalty back. There has been no accountability to the people committing treason against England. And in England next year, July 12th, I think it is, will be 1100 years old. And we all need to keep pushing this forward, right? You need to deal with these people now. And the only way to do that is there was a reason why we hanged, jawed, and quartered people, right? I'm not suggesting we're going to draw and quarter people. But I would, if it meant people would never do it in the future again, I would gladly, if you're gonna hang them and then give me a chainsaw and I'll quarter them for you. I'll draw and quarter them, right? And we will stick them at Traitors Gate, and we will let the whole world see it and say this is what these people did. But justices and judges and barristers and solicitors need to understand this ain't a game, right? And in history, we've also turned on the judiciary. They are the people that have allowed this to happen. And again, I don't care what anyone says. I've spoken to a couple of solicitors. I've said, yeah, but it's not all of us. Problem is you're not saying anything. And again, many of you are still saying Parliament is sovereign when it fucking well ain't, right? So we need to make sure and ensure that everything that we are doing, we do. So again, I'm not going to go on all night tonight, but just want everyone to know that. So the more you share this, I am certainly suggesting, or more than suggesting, that you go to my Twitter page, and that's why we need some help, and you send this out. Let me have a quick look. I've got some messages coming through. What I don't want to do is shut down and then go back through a load of messages. I'm not going to be on here for that long tonight. Tomorrow I'm driving into London, and then Thursday I've got an interview. I'll probably tell you tomorrow night who the interview is with. I don't know, or you can look out on YouTube for it. Really and truthfully, I do need to tell you. What I don't want is are the trolls to start beforehand, because it's going to be a live interview. So I want as many of us on there. It's going to be, I believe, at 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 past 9 in the morning. I don't see. Let me have a look and see if I can see on this. Someone just sent me some messages. Have you seen this? Jules just shared it. Let me see what's just been sent. What's this for? Oh yeah, no, I've seen this earlier on today. 4 senior members of the Labour Party have been charged with interfering with an election in East Croydon. Yeah, and the police got involved, investigated it. I think everyone's out there looking at how crooked these elections are now and seeing what they're doing in the background. But yeah, that is true. 4 senior members, one of them was a trade unionist for, I think it was for Unison. Yeah, so just to make sure everyone answer that, Greater Manchester is fucked up. And all I want is everyone to keep sending this out there. Let me just have a look. You'd have to send me the link. There's probably a link to it if people want to see it. But yeah, 4 senior people in the Labour Party have been arrested, investigated, but they've now been charged, and they now have a trial coming up, a criminal trial for interfering with an election, perverting the course of justice, and other things. But senior people in the Labour Party, and I'm just making sure everyone understands that. Them ones, they knew all this was going on last year. They knew what we was put into the court was true, right? And basically, we caught them bank the rights with what they'd done with ours. This is common, and especially in what's known as red wall areas where Labour are in there, because they cheat at the count, right? And then they cheat in other ways as well, right? It's not just the postal votes. The count is fixed. It's an illusion, and they're trained in that, right? They did the same to Andrew Bridgen, when in fact they swapped out the whole count team. It'd been the same count team in East Leicestershire, wherever he was, for 14 years. Then they threw him out of the Conservative Party, right, because he was talking about COVID and all that and telling people the truth. And then when he went for the re-election, bearing in mind he'd been an MP, I think, for 12 years or 14 years or 15 years, whatever he'd been an MP for, just to listen to this, right? 2 weeks before the election, they swapped the whole count team out. It was the same count team for 14 years. 2 weeks before the election, they got rid of the whole count team and put a new count team in, right? Tell me that ain't a coup. And how many votes did he get? A few hundred votes? And when I stood in that election, I got 1,007 votes in Chorley. He was a well-known MP, right, in that area that had stood for people and really pushed forward. If you think of Horizon, you think all the things that he pushed forward for people, right? He got less votes than me. I mean, people didn't know me in Chorley. They knew me in Chorley because, they know that I am a leader of the English Constitution Party, and I stood against the Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, and they don't like him. And I got 1,007 votes. Right? In fact, I think I've got more than any other one of the smaller party leaders. So David Curtin, I think, got 600 votes or 700 votes. I've got 1,007 votes. But when you look at it, you do need to compare it to Andrew Bridgen, right? And this is not me having a pop at him. Someone tell me, look it up, and tell me how many votes he got. Look it up and show me in the actual chat how many votes he got in the last election he was in, right? Anyone got that information out there? So yeah, it is true that they've been captured. Can't see this one. Let me have a look. Chorley. Let me have a look. What year did you stand in Chorley, Graham? 2024. And funny enough, there's a letter here from someone in Chorley that's wrote me a letter. I've got to reply to him, but because he said, I want to vote for you. Are you standing again? What's going on? They're chumping it a bit in Chorley for us, right? What year did you stand? 2024. Let me have a quick look. You wish to send Graham? Thank you. Away with a problem. Let's have a look. Thanks, Graham. Tracy, he got less than 10%. Yeah, but tell me what he got. Someone tell me the figure. Question. I've got a couple of questions here. Someone's going to give me the figure, I think. What's that one? We have a Muslim PM, but yet his boyfriend is. As for the king, pretty sure he is the closest closet Mohammedan. I agree. Adam H.E., good evening all. Adam H.E., how you doing, son? I voted for you in 2024, DD. Oh, well done, that man. Neil, Adam H.E., hello, mate. Right, let me have a look at this. I'm waiting for the figure for someone to tell me how many votes he got in 2024, meaning Andrew Bridgen. Was it? Yeah. Juicy and Lucy Till, Graham. This is on you banking English devolution bill now. Yeah, I know that. I know that. But listen, devolution is regionalisation. That's what they actually mean. What someone's telling me he got, I didn't think it was 13. No, Andrew Bridgen got 1,568 votes. I think that's probably about right. But considering how long he'd been an MP, and he was a good MP, right? And then you think, me and Charlie, I've got 1,007 votes. They put a whole new. He didn't get that. No, he didn't. I can go and have a look at it myself. Right, question. If the English have no representation in Parliament, why the hell are we paying taxes? So this is a really good question, right? Does everyone remember? Let me go. I've got to make sure I don't pull all these wires out. They've got to go underneath that thing. I'll keep kicking them, and if I kick them all, everything will go off, right? So I've got to make myself a little tidy rack underneath there. 2,000. He got 30,000. No. In 2020, yeah. So in 2024, so he's gone from 30,000 votes in 2019, yeah, to 2024, 1,500 votes. Well, everyone knew him. Evening, all playing catch up. No worries. Right, I'm going to have a look at a few things. What am I looking for? Andrew DD, Andrew Brisbane. He didn't even get his deposit back. Right, he got 3.2%. Right, this is not me being negative towards him. This is because they swapped out the count team 2 weeks before the election. Right, but I did ask Andrew to come and support me and give evidence, and he didn't. Right, to that fact, you can't talk about these things and not back it up in a court of law. And we was in the highest court. Right, so no taxation without representation. Exactly, right? So I'm going to look up this. This is what I was going to look up for you. Let me see if I can bring it up on my screen, right? Because this is really important. You've already seen all this stuff, but I'm going to bring it up again. Let's go to my home page or my profile. Right, if I go to my profile, bring up highlights, and bring up what I played last. Shut up. Let me show you this. I want you to listen. It's the last part of it, really, that you need to listen to. Right, now listen to Nigel Farage.
So if you like, it's the centre left. The fact the SNP are winning seats off Labour does not add to the number of seats that are won for the centre left in the British Parliament next time round. It is possible that Labour and the SNP could have a majority in the next Parliament, but I think it's very unlikely.
So you think Cameron's going to get back in one?
Well, I also think the nearer the election comes, the worse the Scottish problem is for Miliband.
The Scottish problem?
Because there is a growing feeling in the north of England, particularly. Why does all this money get sent over our heads over Hadrian's Wall? You know, expenditure per capita much higher in Scotland than it is in England.
And right. So I'm going to ask the Northerners. Right. I know, because I know quite a few Northerners who got to spend a lot of time in the north. Right. They are pissed off about it. But so do people in the south. Right. Because the further north you get, the more it becomes, it grates on you. You're struggling to put your kids and paying for your kids to go to university, and the Scottish don't have to pay for any university. They don't have to pay for prescriptions. They don't have to pay for parking in National Health Service hospitals, all that, because the English pay for it all. Right? But listen to the next bit, because this is crucial to no taxation without representation. Right? There are no English MPs in that British Parliament. There are Scottish MPs, Northern Irish MPs, Welsh MPs, right? And then there's British MPs. There are no English MPs. Listen.
And how is it that we still don't have an English voice in an English Parliament? And I think
Yeah? You got that? Did you hear that?
all of this could damage Miliband terribly in the run-up to May the 7th. I think right now...
Right, so I'm going to go back to wherever we was there, right? I'm going to run that again, and I want people to understand it, and especially someone like Rupert Lowe and their team. They've got to understand that a British representation is not English, right? Crucial to understand. Farage doing the same thing as he batted out there, yeah, we're going to have a rape inquiry. Bomb. Not going to do that, right? He's talking about the Scottish problem, and he's also talking about there's no representation of the English in a British Parliament, right? So why don't Rupert Lowe take the reins of that completely? And so I'll tell you what, Nigel, here's your words. What we're going to do is turn around to the English and say, I'll tell you what, the English, we are going to represent you, right? You've seen us stand for you in this rape inquiry. I'm not lying to you. Get out of your houses and vote for us. And I promise you, you will have representation in that parliament, right? Just listen to his words. No taxation without representation.
That it is in England. And how is it that we still don't have an English voice in an English Parliament? And I think all of this could damage Miliband terribly in the run-up to May the 7th. I think right now the Conservatives will be the biggest party.
Right. We believe, or when I say we, that restore. I'm trying to click this. Get off. Why ain't that gone off? For some reason, it ain't gone off. All I'm saying to you is we need these people. Now, listen, I said on Laments, listen, the way I see this, I'm not discriminating against anyone. Any foreign criminals get deported, right? Exiled, never return to England again. We want a high trust society again. We want to be armed in our own nation again, right? Listen to what I'm saying to you. If a Scot commits an offence, misdemeanors, you could say if there's a series of misdemeanors, 3 or more, you're exiled permanently, never come back to England, right? This is Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, right? If you commit any felony or an indictable offence, a serious offence, right, in other words, tribal either way, right, on the completion of your sentence, you're exiled to Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, wherever you come from. Here's the kicker. Vice versa. If an Englishman commits an offence in Scotland, he's banished from that nation. We used to use banishment from the nation as a punishment and life banishment. You can never come back. And you have to take your family with you, right? That was the English way. Read the law books. It tells you that. And that's how we created this high trust society. People come from Europe to England and wanted to be English, right? Just remember that. And by the way, when we kicked the Jews out, and we kicked the Jesuits out as well, when we kicked the Jews out, it wasn't out of Britain. It was out of England. They went to fucking Scotland. They went to fucking Wales. They didn't go to Ireland. There was nothing to go there for. And they went back to, not Brussels, Belgium, right? Waiting. Like little fucking vultures. Anyway. We have the right to live in peace, not pieces. What does that mean? The English Constitution is without a doubt the solution. No, it is, without any doubts whatsoever. And again, I've got no issues with Wales whatsoever. The difference is, if you go back to the common law union, which happens in 1603, it was already said in English law, the Scots and the English and the Welsh shared the same rights, right? All you do is you then, in that separate situation, you would have the diplomats, real diplomats. Can you imagine me, and I can be a diplomat, if you was giving me, instead of spending all this money on weapons, you give me 10 million a year, I will promise you now, I would be very diplomatic in any fucking conversation I had with a jock, right? I would not walk in there and call him a sweaty sock. I would not take the piss out of him because he's wearing a skirt, right? And he's trying to hide the size of his small winkle with a sporran, right? I will not do any of them things if you give me £10 million a year to talk to them nicely, right? You know I'm joking, right? And I certainly wouldn't be buying any wellies for any Welshmen. The major point is we'd all get on with each other, right? It's the British that's been causing the problems, and most of them are foreign. Am I making myself clear? I do not disrespect the Scots, the Welsh, or the Irish. It's as simple as that. Hi Graham, what's the best book to get started on a constitution? Few people ask me that. There's no real. There's a series of them. I mean, if you really want to I would say Halsbury Statutes, constitutional law, right? You can buy an older one. It's not really changed. Something like that as well. Select statutes, cases, and documents to illustrate the English constitutional history, right? That's an original, though. There's lots of different books, but what I'm going to be doing is writing a book in layman terms on our constitution and getting that out there, and doing more. But again, you've got the Hamlin lectures. That's the Hamlin lectures is free. You can go and download the PDFs from Exeter University. So you've got the very first lecture in 1949 was Lord Denning, Freedom Under the Law, right? He was the governor. I mean, he was a working class judge. You couldn't have wanted someone better on the bench, and he'd been in all four inns of courts. Was I teaching you about that the other day? Yeah. Right. Janet gets personal lessons on law from me, and then talking all through the different bits of it. Can't wait for your book, DV. Well, I will be getting there, but it's going to take a bit of time to write it up. That's it. I am going to say good night, God bless to everyone, because we've just gone over an hour. I don't want to, but can everyone understand what I'm trying to say? Don't forget, try and put that information out there. Try and take that particular. So let me see if I can kick this off, because for some reason it's not working. Get off. That screen stopped working. Why has that screen stopped working?
Is it when you keep them wires?
No. The screen. Right, it might be that one. Let's see if it's that. I don't know why that screen's gone off. Let me kick that one off. Cancel. Right, now it's come back on again.
Graham, you was going to mention Mablethorpe.
Huh?
You're going to mention Mablethorpe.
Oh, Mablethorpe. Don't forget, we got the Mablethorpe do coming up. It's really important that people come to that. There's going to be a number of things discussed. It is on the 5th, 6th, and 7th. Right, so the 5th is going to be, there's going to be a comedian there on a Friday night. The Saturday there's going to be music. we're going to create this thing, and I'm going to do some videos and send it out there. People have already started booking up their accommodation up there. There's lots of accommodation. It is a holiday resort, but the Dunes complex is a freedom of speech venue. It's got a restaurant there. It's got a bar there. It's just, they've got a lovely stage area. They've got everything. We just want to make sure that we get that right. We're going to have a couple of cameras there, hopefully, and get it right. So, don't forget to also send this to Rupert Lowe and just say, listen to this. Farage lied to the English again, right? How do we know that you're any different, right? Neil 56, I'm going for the week. Oh, well done. Julia Oakway, night Graham, and all stay safe. Yeah. So I am going to say good night, God bless. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution. I'm just a normal everyday working person that's looked at this and read this stuff for a long time, right? A very long time. I can't stand what's happened to this country. We was the greatest nation on earth, not because of empires and all that bollocks, because when things happened to us, we created a navy. When they were stealing our people and selling them into slavery, we went, right, now we need ships, now we need to fight these people. And we created ways of doing everything. DD, what channel you on in the morning? Not tomorrow morning. I should be live tomorrow night, but I'll be doing it from an hotel. I don't know if it's going to be any good. I'll tell you what I will do. I'll tell you what I will be doing. I could take this phone and see if I can connect via my phone, and I've probably got 5G. It's on YouTube and probably Twitter on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. But tomorrow night I'll tell you what it is that I'm on, and then you can all watch and look, and then be nice, right? But the more people get on it, the more this guy is likely to invite me back, right? But it's quite unusual for him to have someone like me on there, meaning a working class legal historian. That's it. Put a tweet out. That's it. I am going to say good night, God bless, au revoir, tiddly poo, and all that.